impacting Billings.
A local rabbi with family in the country praying for a peaceful resolution.
It's a very sad situation. It's very painful.
Plus, moving on out.
It's really crucial that we figure out a way to deal with this.
The first steps taken as Montana looks to solve overcrowding at the state prison.
And home sweet home.
We got her. And I literally fell out of bed because I was like, what?
This beautiful golden retriever, missing for 3 days, has now been found, all thanks to eyes in the sky.
The MTN 530 News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Andrea, Lutz. Tonight, a possible breakthrough in the war between Israel and Hamas as a temporary ceasefire could be near.
Now, that deal, which includes a 3 to 5 day ceasefire, could assure the release of many of the hostages, including women and children, taken in the October 7th terror attack. The news comes as Israel's army chief says troops are close to destroying the Hamas military system that existed in northern Gaza.
Soldiers have been combing through the hospital for 2 days and say they found a tunnel and weapons along with supplies in an MRI room. Hamas denies the allegation, saying Israel's goal is simply to destroy Gaza's hospitals.
The White House says it's confident that Hamas is using the hospital as a command center and says there are ongoing conversations with Israel on how to best protect civilians during military operations.
Well, for one Billings man, it's a war that he says hits way too close to home. Yuri Barnier was born and raised in Israel before moving to the Magic City.
Well, his family was among the first to be targeted by anti-Semitic sentiment in Billings in the 1990s, motivating residents to rally around Jewish families in the city, starting the Not in Our Town movement. As David J. found out, he still has family in Israel, and his heart breaks every day.
Uri Barnea was the music director for the Billings Symphony for 20 years. He's a longtime Billings resident. And before he came to the United States in 1971, he lived in Israel and served in the military.
It has been such a trauma in Israel because such a carnage has not happened on the Jewish state's soil since the Holocaust.
The war in Israel may be happening halfway across the world, but for Billings resident Uri Barnea, it hits very close to home.
One missile actually fell 2 blocks from my niece in North Tel Aviv, and they had to hide in a staircase.
Barnea was born in what is now the state of Israel, and his parents were Holocaust refugees. He still has a lot of family in the country, and he says they're doing fine physically, but not mentally and emotionally.
Everybody is completely wrecked.
Barnea himself has experienced the horrors of war firsthand. He grew up in Israel during the War of Independence in 1948 and 1949.
It's been already 75 years after the state was created. There was quite a few skirmishes with Hamas until now, but this time it was an unbelievable event.
And Barnea personally understands the conflict, having served in the Israeli Defense Forces for 10 years as an officer and fighting in 3 wars. And it's something he didn't totally escape upon moving to Montana 40 years ago. Barnea was here in 1993 when the homes of several Jewish families, including Uri's, were vandalized. Jewish headstones were knocked down and homes were spray painted with Nazi symbols. That sparked the Not in Our Town movement, where Billings residents banded together to support those Jewish families. Uri says he hasn't seen that kind of anti-Semitism here during this conflict.
I did not notice anything in person compared to, for example, 30 years ago with the Not in Our Town activities.
After leaving the symphony, Barnea became a rabbi in 2007, serving in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He retired as a rabbi in 2014. He says Hamas needs to be eliminated for there to be peace in Israel.
I want to close also with the feelings of hope.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
With the rise in crime across Billings, the idea and need for a new jail has been in the spotlight, and jail overcrowding is not only a Yellowstone County problem, it is a state problem. But today, the first step to reduce that overcrowding took place with 30 inmates transferred to a prison facility in Arizona. Tonight, MTN's Jonathan Anbarian has more on what comes next.
During the 2023 legislative session, Montana lawmakers agreed to spend almost $8 million over the next 2 years to house 120 Montana inmates in an out-of-state prison facility. This week, the Montana Department of Corrections confirmed that they've finalized the contract and transported the first group of inmates. The state reached an agreement with the private prison operator CoreCivic to transfer inmates to the Saguaro Correctional Center in Eloy, Arizona. CoreCivic already works with the state, managing the prison in Shelby. The Department of Corrections said they selected which inmates would be transferred based on whether they wanted to volunteer and on things like their custody level, health and mental health needs, and how close they are to parole. They said the inmates would have access to comparable services as they would at a Montana facility. State leaders say Montana State Prison has been overcrowded for a long time, and it's had a trickle-down effect on local jails, as the department hasn't been able to move inmates to prison as quickly.
It's really crucial that we figure out a way to deal with this. We may have longer-term goals to build additional prison capacity in Montana. We got to solve this right now, and so acquiring these beds allows us to free up space in the local detention facilities, which will create a much better situation.
Republican Representative Bill Mercer of Billings told MTN if this appears to be a more efficient option than expanding prison capacity within the state, leaders will at least need to consider extending it. Democrats in the legislature were critical of the agreement for sending public money out of state and said it would give Montana less chance for oversight.
When we send people out of state, particularly adults, we don't have the same control and oversight over what we're doing. It comes down to oversight and where the buck stops, and that's the problem with this. I mean, these are Montanans, you know.
Representative Emma Kirk-Carpenter of Billings told MTN she believed this situation could have been avoided if stakeholders at all levels of the justice system had been brought together to work on a broader solution. In a news release, CoreCivic said they plan to receive all of the Montana inmates by the end of December. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Before we talk about tomorrow, let's talk about a week from tomorrow and the outlook as we start getting closer towards Thanksgiving, as we'll lean towards at least somewhat wetter weather. Still a lot of question marks whether this is going to mean rain or snow, but it's leaning more towards snow, especially when you consider we're running between a 40 and 60% chance of colder than average temperatures for the week of Thanksgiving. What could this mean for your travel plans? We're going to take a closer look at some of the details and the short-term forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Ready for takeoff. Billings Air travelers will have one more option in 2024. Allegiant Airlines' newest flight will now connect travelers from Billings to Los Angeles, California. The seasonal flights will be offered Thursdays and Sundays during the busy summer travel season, with service beginning on May 16th. Billings Airport Director of Aviation and Travel Jeff Roach says the flights are a game changer for the Magic City's tourism economy. One-way flights are currently available for as low as $59 on the airline's website.
You can say so long to the Schwans, man, the iconic food delivery company, and their yellow trucks. They're leaving Montana and most of the western United States. Schwans, which sold in 2018, was rebranded last year under the name Yellow, and they're scaling back their delivery to 18 states, mostly on the East Coast. This means 90 delivery sites will close, including the one in Lockwood. The company serviced Wyoming, too. Yellow has cited rising business costs in a post-COVID-19 pandemic world for shifting its business. Schwans started in 1952.
A Roberts dog breeder is thanking her lucky stars tonight after finding her lost golden retriever. This dog, Winter, was missing for 3 days before an unlikely hero came to the rescue. And it's all thanks to a drone pilot and his thermal technology finding that pooch in less than 2 hours. Our Charlie Kleps has more on the incredible rescue.
It was in this beautiful area near Roberts, Montana, where one dog breeder recently lost their prized golden retriever. The dog was missing for 3 days, and the story of how they found their missing pup is almost hard to believe. For Lila Morell, this vast property in Roberts is the perfect place for her to breed her dogs.
I love the dogs. They're very important to me.
But the 20 acres she owns and 1,500 acres surrounding it became a problem just a few weeks ago when one of her dogs ran away.
She got startled and took off. Like I said, it's just a vast area and they can be gone.
Her token female golden retriever named Winter is a crucial part of their operation and worth thousands, not to mention a beloved member of the family.
I was panicking because I could hear coyotes, and I was thinking, oh my. I felt sick to my stomach.
But that sick feeling was replaced with hope after a friend suggested that Morel reach out to a thermal drone pilot living in Idaho.
So I looked him up online, and I called him immediately, and he lived in Idaho, and he said, sure.
5 hours later, 26-year-old Alex McElligott was on her doorstep, drone in hand, searching for winter using thermal technology.
There are going to be situations where there isn't planning, and someone calls you and says, here's the situation. What can you do for me?
Thermal cameras on McElligott's drone use sensors to detect heat energy, often pinpointing signs of life in vast open spaces. In less than 2 hours, McElligott found winter.
On the way back, I'm like, let me just peek over there. And so I zoom in, and I got a spotlight as well. And we zoom in, and it's winter. We're like, what do you know?
And it was just overwhelming and awesome because I would never want to lose a dog that way.
Unique technology that saved this pup, and something McElligott hopes to use to help as many people as he can.
It's something that I think everyone needs to some aspect. I'm that smack in the middle that makes that technology and those resources accessible to everyone else.
In Roberts, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 530 News on Q2, stopping the music. It is official. Montana State's marching band won't make the trip to Missoula. We'll tell you why.
And in sports, championship dreams. Rocky Volleyball has punched a ticket to the Nationals. We'll hear from them in just a bit.